All right, I've known him in different areas. He's been here to talk to us about cars and stuff. He was once, and maybe still, headed the, what do you call it, the old car, them? Vintage autos or whatever.
Classic car
club. He's a businessman, he's a well-known philanthropist and political representative for the People's National Party. I didn't know that. The St. Andrew Eastern constituency, Andre Hylton. I guess he has a clear vision of what needs to be achieved. Good morning, sir. Welcome to Smile Jamaica.
Thank you very much. Good to be here again.
Double barrel right away. Why and why the PNP?
Well, as you stated earlier, I'm a philanthropist. I've always been involved with community development. Some years ago, I've always been driving past Reddy's Road and look across a dust bowl, you know, that famous cricket field. Yeah, and through Rotary and the community involvement, we were able to transform it. And so I've always been working with community. I started my own charity, Guiding Light, over 20 years ago. And so working with people and working with community and transforming communities and helping to transform people's lives or motivating people has always been my love, my passion. People motivates me. And so when Trevor Monroe resigned from Eastern St. Andrew, I was asked to go and assist to keep the organization together, which I did. And the people of Eastern St. Andrew asked me to represent them, or in Jamaica in terms to run. Mm-hmm. And of course, I decided to, and I'm a person that I usually try to give things my best shot mm-hmm. when I get involved. Why the PNP? It is by choice. I tell people all the time, I wasn't born a PNP. I was like a, you know, grow up through the YO, and I can't boast of that legacy. But I chose the PNP because of what I learned. The PNP is a party that has always sought to uplift the masses of this country. And if you look at what Jamaica has achieved over the last 80 years, 60 years, 70 odd years, PNP has done a whole lot in transforming people's lives. And if you understand our history, where we're coming from, a political party has to be sensitive to where we're coming from, where we are, and where we need to go. And so I chose the PNP because I think it's the best platform to do my community work.
And speaking of community work, you mentioned community development, but outside of community development, what do you plan to bring to the constituency and how do you plan to lift it?
Well, let me tell you, I believe in empowering people, first of all, and I don't join the notion that you're there to change things. I believe, first of all, I chose to get involved with politics because I believe that I need to all the constituents of Eastern St. Andrew to be that change. Stop expecting someone to come out and change things for you. So what I'm trying to do in the community is to pull the resources in the community, whether human resources or otherwise, and to lead that change or to inspire that change. You know, for instance, an idea I came about with recently, but just sure the idea might have been around before, but of a place like Augustown. You know, that's where emancipation started. You have Bedwood, you have the Bedwood Temple, you have the Bedwood Ealing Stream, you have Sizzler Studio. Why not come into tourism? Why would not bring tourists there to experience realness? Because one of the things tourists lack in Jamaica is touching and feeling the people.